right, so I don't know. I guess I'll use that as my logo for the knife chats. How do I get rid of that now? Uh-oh. There we go. So we're starting a knife chat here. There's no intro music. I invited Wield as well, so he'll jump in. I think he's in another chat. We are going live to talk about Blade Show. As far as I know, Blade Show was started in like the 90s. Let me go look.
This was the 40th anniversary.
40th, okay. So, wow, 1982, right? So, yeah, long time ago, and started by Blade Magazine. And I think it kind of started with a bunch of people who were going, if I understand it correctly, a bunch of people that were going to SHOT or something like that, and then figured, hey, we could have our own show, and then started their own show, and then it, of course, grew. So this is the first time you got to go?
Yep, it's the first time I went.
Okay, and you went from Ohio, so you drove a while. What kind of drive are we talking? Like a day?
12 hours.
Oh yeah, whole day. And then Wield is closer by, so I don't know where he's at, but much closer.
I think he actually lives down there.
That's what I mean. So it's like a day trip for him. I don't know how close, but definitely a day trip for him, or just a quick drive for him. So if he jumps in, we'll get some. I know he's been posting a bunch of videos. So his tactic, I'll just speak for him since he's not here yet, seems to have been to go around and do, they seem to be like about 1 minute to 4 minutes is like the longest one so far that I've seen. And maybe looking down at their table and letting them chat a little bit about their stuff, mostly introducing them and then saying things. So I don't know. I mean, I watch everybody's channels, but I don't watch everybody's videos. So with Wield's channel, he's like more of a, what am I trying to say? Like sharing his experience as a gun owner and a guy who's doing his thing. So he's not like, I'm trying to get every knife or I'm trying to attend every event. He's just sharing what he liked about the event. So he's kind of chill, I'd say kind of, he has a lot actually of stuff up there, but it's not like a fast paced. It's not like he's rushing to get it up there before the next guy. He's just lives close to it and he just happens to have nothing else to do, I guess. So he just happens to have quite a few short videos up. So with that, now we can contrast. Mike, tell us what was your strategy going down? How did you end up liking the show? Tell us about the show.
I ended up liking it. It was good. It was a good experience. I got to talk to the people I wanted to talk to. There was a lot there. It was kind of a bit much to process, so I didn't even really try. I went in with, okay, I want to talk to these makers, go. And then that's what I did. I went and I talked to those makers, and then I just kind of wandered around. Ended up talking to, well, let's see. If you watch the channel, I put out 3 videos today. I ended up talking with Exotech, Big Daddy Unlimited, and Bastion Gear, who I did a review on. I think, as a matter of fact, I let it out last week on their Bastion Braza and Persuader knives. Well, I decided, you know what, I should go talk to those guys, so I did. And we talked a little bit about their EDC gear and the other stuff that they do. I'm going to be working with them in the future, I think, to review some of their EDC pens and whatnot. They have some interesting stuff made out of like titanium and stainless and carbon fiber and EIEIO. Then I talked with Exotech. I also talked with a company called Vero Engineering that I really want to get an example of their knives. Vero Engineering. I don't know if you guys can see that. I haven't posted that video yet, but they have a very interesting way of flipping open the knife. Most flippers, if I have one, I have one handy. Most flippers have this protrusion there. Sticks out the top that you press back and it flips open and it ends up kind of like a guard. Vero does it a little bit differently.
Is that legal to do on YouTube? That was a weapon. More knives are used in crime than in rifles.
I don't know.
Legal? But anyway.
I don't know. But it's real interesting the way that they do it. I ended up,
it's not a tab.
It's not a tab that sticks up like this. It kind of goes, it doesn't even really protrude out the front and you just pull back. It's not like this where you have to pull back and down. It's more of a pull back. It's hard to explain, easy to show, and it works better than this.
It's probably a different cam, right? Like in a different place around the fulcrum so that it gives you more mechanical advantage or something.
Yeah. Yep. And it works a treat. It's they're really cool knives. I did end up talking with someone that I hadn't intended to talk with, and that was Dan Wowak of Coal Cracker Bushcraft. I don't know if that you can see that. He was a guy that he's a survival instructor. Matter of fact, he was one of my teachers at the Pathfinder school when I went there. He was also a contestant on Alone, the season where they went to Patagonia. And I ended up buying a knife from him that I didn't intend to buy, but I bought it. So it's going to be a review on this coming soon. It's a Coal Cracker Black Diamond. So we'll be look for this in the near future.
What is that, like a $50 knife or a $500 knife?
It's a $200 knife.
Okay.
I'm going to beat the ever-loving shit out of it and put it through its paces and test it out. But I don't know. I talked to the people I wanted to talk to. I looked around at a bunch of neat stuff. I did take a couple pictures because I ended up buying a present for my son. 2 of them, actually.
Hold on. Are they watching? Do they know what it is, or did you already give it to them?
Oh, I already gave it to him. He's good. One of the things I bought him, and I didn't take a picture of it because it's pretty standard, was just a standard K-bar knife. I'm sure Ghost is quite familiar with it. I see him out there in the chat.
Which one?
Just the standard USMC type K-bar.
So why that one and why at Blade Show and not like at the local store?
Because he wanted it, and I was there, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and get it for him. And it was a little bit cheaper. It was like $60. They had a pretty good deal on it.
Oh, so stuff was discounted there. It was a deal to buy stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Stuff was discounted. And then I decided to take a picture of our future robot overlord and masters. I don't know how well you can see that.
No, send it over to me. I can put it on the screen, or put it on your own screen. You can screen share it. Well, what is that? Knife machine?
It's a just a sculpture. Couple of them, a big one and a little Wally looking robot thing, or Johnny 5, made out of bearings and motorcycle chains and stuff. It was really neat. Yeah, let me share that with you. Send that to you, G.
While you're clicking there, then let me ask you a question. So it's in like a gymnasium and like a convention center. Is it in a?
It is in the Cobb Galleria in Atlanta. It's it's like a big convention center. It was in 2 rooms. One was a ginormous room, about
definitely bigger than a cafeteria or like a gymnasium at a college or something.
Yeah, 2 rooms. One of the rooms was about a third the size of Wanamaker, roughly, and the other was a rather large ballroom.
But still, that's not, Wanamaker, we're using that because we've been there, but that's, I think, the largest building in the country or something. It's like an 11-acre building or something. So a third of that building is like 3 times bigger than a typical gun show building, right?
Yeah.
There's somebody from Georgia calling.
That might be Wheeled.
Hello? Yep. Good. We're live right now. No, we're live right now. You joining in? Oh, it's in the email. I'll send it again. But it's in the email from before. It's in the first email I sent. Normally I wouldn't answer a call, but since it was from Georgia, now I know Wheeled's phone number. So let me send him that email again. I'm not screen sharing. Okay. So you're saying it's in a fairly large building. You said it's in 2 rooms. So question I have, is there a hallway between the rooms, or was it like a doorway between the rooms, or was it like you leave one and you're gone for a while and you open the new one, or is it just walk through a door?
You leave one, you go down the hallway and then kind of around a corner, and then you go into the next ballroom.
Okay, so in those kind of situations, can be, oh, here he is. There can be potential that people miss the entire other one. Do you think that happened, or is there no way somebody's going to miss half of it?
No, there's no way somebody's going to miss it. I mean, there's all kinds of signs everywhere. They give you maps and stuff, and it clearly shows what's where, and it's well laid out for people to find everything.
Right on. I appreciate that, because I've been to some things where it's like, come on, seriously, this is a national level thing, and you're literally getting lost, or like the place is so confusing, and then other times you don't even realize that the place was so well thought out because it's not even a factor in your processing. It's just completely convenient. So in other words, that's what I was asking, if the place was working against you or if it was working for you. So
now the physical plant worked for you.
Okay.
The way they did things worked against you, I think. The way they did things was just asinine, in my opinion, as far as entry.
Okay, so let's talk about that. I've only got experience going to like NRA and SHOT Show and things that I have a press pass for, so I don't hardly ever go through the front door. I'm guessing you had to go through the front door and pay and everything?
Yeah. Well, I didn't. I had to pay for my brother. They issued me a press pass.
Nice.
But they wouldn't issue one for my brother who was running my camera because he's not an actual paid employee of mine. So I had to buy his tickets.
How much was it?
And they have different levels of ticket. They have like what's called an early bird. They have a cap, a customer appreciation. Then they have the regular, the hoi polloi peasant level. And the early bird people who pay extra plus their general admission get to go in early, a couple hours early. And everybody who already bought a ticket general admission has to wait in line to then go get their wristbands and get in 2 hours later. And if you don't wait in, if you're not there early to wait in that line, you're going to be waiting and waiting and waiting because it's going to be long as hell. So we sat there in line forever. And we had already bought our tickets and we were there at 8:30. We were one of the first 10 people in the building, but it was the point that we had to wait from 8:30 till damn near 11 to get in, to get our wristbands, and then had to wait till almost noon to get into the show.
And this is because the early birds got first.
Correct. And that's because the early birds got to go in. Now, when I got there, I sent my brother with the little printout so he could get his ticket, and I went to go get my media pass. Nobody knew what the hell. They acted like they knew nothing about what a media pass was, what a press pass was, how to have anybody go about getting one. And they basically told me, yeah, you got to go wait in a line with them, the will call, the general admission people. And then that doesn't open until 11, when, my email said I could go get my press pass at 8 and go into the show at 10:15. So I kind of raised a bit of a stink here and there with everybody I could, until finally someone is like, hey, what's the issue? One of the show management. And I showed them the email they sent, and they're like, oh yeah, just go over there and get your press pass. No problem. Go in at 10:15. And I'm like, holy cow. Every single one of these other people knew nothing about it. The people that were supposed to be controlling entry knew nothing about the terms of entry, and, didn't know jack about the issuance of press passes or even of their existence. So that was kind of, I've been to like USCCA and NRA, and both of those are seamless. You walk in, yeah, you got to wait in line, but you're in line and it's moving. They're handling things. They don't make you wait for some arbitrary. Well, I know what the reason was they made you wait, because they wanted to get the money from people to be able to go in early. So you had to wait so that they can have their early access. But NRA and USCCA doesn't mess with that. So it moved a whole lot more smoothly than Blade Show does. I'm not a fan of how they do that.
Hold on. So first off, you've just had good experience at NRA, but NRA can be just as crazy. So when you look at it from the promoter or the people, they're probably not getting the same security staff every time. That's provided by the place, or they hire them. And that's just a matter of, how thorough a briefing they might have had. And since press passes are almost never a big deal, unless it's something like SHOT Show where there's 2,600 of us, Most of the time we're like barely an afterthought, and they figure most press people are just not going to care and they're just going to do it. So I'm glad that you were able to experience it, because at any new show, you're going to have that potential. And as a press person, you got to be willing to just ignore all rules and just, you're press. You don't need to listen to the gatekeepers because they don't know. You've experienced that they don't know that you're a level beyond them. Once you get to the people that are their bosses, they'll know who you are and they'll treat you appropriately and get you right in. So most of the time,
that's what happened.
Yeah, exactly. But most of the time in the future, if you're press, just walk right past the people that don't know what's going on, because they're not paid enough to know what's going on at your level. And most of the time, they're not going to stop you when you know where you're going, and you just know where you know that you're going past them, so you know where you're going. That makes sense. So I'm glad that worked out. Now, Wield, you didn't have press pass, so you just went in?
Yeah, I just went in. So I had the regular 12 o'clock entry. The early entry, it only costs $15 extra, so it's not a huge barrier.
That's a lot of money for a couple of hours, but I guess if it's a couple hours of standing there versus going in and having less like elbow to elbow aisles, but I guess that's a question. Was it totally crowded by the time y'all got in?
Well, being in a wheelchair, they said, "Oh, you don't have to stand out in the heat going in, and you could go upstairs and just wait upstairs." So I waited upstairs, and then I saw people were getting the early bird wristbands. So because I got there at 9:30, and so I just stood next to the early bird wrist line, and I said, "Does anybody have extra pass?" And about the third guy I asked, he gave me one. He said, "Yeah, just stay with me in line, and I'll give you mine." So nice. I got in at 10:15.
Cool.
Nice. Love it.
And same with NRA. So it's really screwed up. You know, all these places. Like the Atlanta NRA, it was down in that you had to go down like 3 sets of escalators that they didn't want my wheelchair to go on. So I had to go all kinds of back alleys into service elevators. And by the time I got there, it was a day that Trump was there, and everybody was bitching that they couldn't have a pistol in. And I'm like looking around like, well, I got mine in, but I didn't go through the line,
That's a whole other discussion, but I'm glad to hear that that happened. So I've never been. So Wield, how many times is this your first time? Have you been before?
It's my 5th time in about a 10-year period.
Oh, awesome. So let me ask then, has it been in the same place? And if so, how long has it been in this place?
It's been in the same place for 40 years is what I've been told. I
know
the last 10 years. Yeah.
And I take that back. Everything I said to Budget was trying to play devil's advocate. If they've been in the same place for 40 years, you'd think they'd have that down, right? Like you'd think they'd know what a press pass is. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, whatever. Not everybody's good, whatever. It's an opportunity. And if nothing else, you learned something from it. That's what really matters. So big enough place that it could still grow, or is it bursting at the seams? Is it like set up in the aisles between the 2 rooms, or is it still got room to expand into the whole thing?
No, there's about I'm here in Atlanta, so there's about 6 more halls that are still unused. So it could grow twice as big.
Is there enough industry? I don't know anywhere near enough about knives versus how big it was. Is there enough industry to fill it more, and they're just not there?
I don't think so, unless they start bringing guns and camping gear. I don't think there's enough room. I mean,
well, let me ask it this way. We know they had pocket knives and regular knives and probably some hatchets, swords.
Yep.
Was that kind of stuff there?
Yep.
Like a lot of them, or just like a guy had a sword, or was it like I just do swords and this is my swords?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Now, how about like kitchen knives and like I just do sushi knives and okay.
Cutco was there.
Yeah, multiple sanding companies, water jet companies, blade stock, steel companies, handle material companies,
grinders,
suppliers to the makers also, and
suppliers,
the tools.
Yeah, steel companies. There was Alabama Damascus was there, Tandy Leather was there, Ohio's own Weaver Leather was there. I bought a bunch of leather from them, as a matter of fact.
This is interesting. So I didn't have that. I didn't know that part of it because I've only seen Blade Show over the years, mostly through YouTubers. Occasionally, when I used to watch blogs, I knew about it, and I've never just cared about knives. I mean, I like knives, but not anywhere near that enough. But there's a show in Vegas that happens right around SHOT Show called the Antique Show, and it's it's a long show. It's a show's been on for a long time. It's antiques and it's custom knives and engraved guns. And they have a lot of the knife, whatever you'd call like those blank steel and the pre-cut blades, and then like all the stuff that you would buy as a hobbyist or a knife maker. But they kind of keep that stuff separate. So if you didn't want to walk around through that, you didn't have to. But if you wanted to, that's all there was over there. Was this like that, or was it all intermixed?
It
was intermixed.
Okay, I don't know. Did you like that, or was that annoying to be like walking past something that was different than the rest?
I liked it. I mean, you could see it, but not have. It wasn't like I'd say about a quarter of them were the suppliers, maybe a fifth.
Interesting. And then, did you say what's the name of that brand that you were talking about? Budget
for
that knife? You said, what?
Yeah, Cutco was there. They like
earlier that knife with the flipper on it. You said something about they had a difference.
Vero Engineering.
Is that a company that makes tools, or is that a knife company?
Knife company.
Oh, okay, then I'm thinking of a different company. So were there companies that made tools like screwdrivers and stuff like that? Like at SHOT Show, we'll see some tool companies.
I didn't see any screwdrivers, but I did see stuff that, well, for instance, Exotac was there. Exotac sells fire starters and survival kits and stuff like that. There were companies that sold some things like that, but I wasn't really looking for it as far as tools and whatnot.
Like adjacent, like if we sell camping stuff and we have a knife, then we're there.
Kind of.
Okay. Now,
hey, Ozzy, I didn't end up going to that. Just FYI, buddy. Unfortunately, I ended up leaving early because I'd accomplished everything I wanted to accomplish. Sorry.
Well, so you got to say sorry to him, and then you're gonna have to say sorry to me because you didn't. I'm assuming you didn't go by Athens, Tennessee, which you drove right past.
I drove through Athens.
Okay, good. At least you can say you've been there. I just want to make sure you can say you know the significance of Athens, right?
Yeah, it's where the Battle of Athens was, where the veterans said, "No, you're not doing this garbage."
Right on. Yeah, I just want to make sure you were able to, because I just hate to have you drive right past and then been like, dang it. Like, so at least you stopped there and said, like, I've been in Athens before.
Yep.
That's
same with Kennesaw.
I forgot to give you the address of that gun club up in Kennesaw.
Yeah.
Are you talking I know Kennesaw is where Glock is, right? Or am I thinking of someplace else?
No, that's Smyrna.
Kennesaw is where the ordinance is the city that has the ordinance that you have to own a firearm.
Oh, dang it. I went there and I didn't go there. So now I feel like a chump. Because that existed before 2012, right? I'm pretty sure that was
it's been legal to own. It's been legal to own for 40 years.
I blame Haas. Haas was with me. I'm blaming Haas because we were both there and we both didn't go. I mean, we might have been in that county. I'm going to have to go. How close to Georgia, or what is that town? How close to Atlanta is it?
It's
fairly
greater Atlanta.
Okay. Well, then maybe I went there because we drove around to go to Eric's shoot, and then we went to Glock. So we went a little bit around. So maybe I did go there.
It's north of Glock, probably 3 miles.
Oh, snap. Then maybe I did inadvertently go there. But that's cool that you went to go there. Now, did you feel like obligated to have a gun when you went there?
Well, I had one anyway, so it wasn't an issue.
But at least that way you could oblige their infringement.
Now, the Cop Galleria is in Smyrna. It's the same city that Glock is in.
What, you're saying the Blade Show is in Smyrna?
Yeah, the Blade Show is in Smyrna.
How close is it to Glock then?
I used to work in Smyrna, and Glock is pretty damn secretive. I'm not even sure where it is.
It's hard to find. We found it, and it's sort of like an industrial area, they're totally nondescript. They just barely have a little sign with a Glock logo on it. It took us like 2 turns in parking and getting out, and then they're like, no, Glock's across the street. And then we finally found it. But anyway, it's sort of in like a little, not a cul-de-sac, but like a little weird thing. I think if it was right near an airport, if I remember right. But it was sort of behind a shopping mall. But yeah, I was just curious because, You can't really go in there. I think you can park in the parking lot and go into the one room, like if you had a problem with a gun and they'd look at it, like there's only like one door you can go into as far as I know. But anyway,
speaking of guns, I was kind of upset that concealed carry is forbidden in the Cobb Galleria. Not so much upset as disappointed.
For like, what did you say?
No firearms in the Cobb Galleria.
Was there a sign
with metal detectors, or like
they don't have metal detectors? They have it as on the website for Blade Show. They let you know that concealed carry is absolutely forbidden.
Well, right. Nobody told me because I was carrying.
Good for you.
Well, I suspect that more than one person was carrying, and I suspect there was no issue, and that's probably been like that way for 40 years, but I'm just guessing. All right, so I had a bunch of questions, and I appreciate you guys answering mine. Like I say, mine are more about the event itself. I'm going to go from the front here and see if we're not missing anything good as far as questions, because there are a bunch of people showing up, and I usually scold everybody for not being part of the conversation whenever we go live, because that's the whole fun of being live, is that it's real, right? So I think we already kind of all seen this before Wield showed up. We were just kind of BSing a little bit. Budget, talked about freebies, so we're going to want to chat about that. I know that Wield has been posting a bunch of videos. I don't know if you posted one specifically on your loot. I called it swag back in the day. I don't know what you kids call it these days. Smeggy says he doesn't know if he's into knives enough to go, but it would be cool. My question would be next is, you've been to NRA show before. How big is it compared to NRA show? You've stuck them both next to each other in a big field.
Quarter to a third.
Oh, really? It's that much smaller than, you're saying smaller than NRA?
Yeah. The only attendance numbers I can find for Blade Show put it at around 11,000 attendees. So actually it's about a seventh to an eighth the size, because the last numbers I have for NRA were 85,000. So that gives you an idea of the size.
I need to put that. I don't think I have that in my stuff, do
I? But was that attendance this year or previous years? Because
previous years.
So I don't think it was even 11,000 this year.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I have some of them. It looks like NRA show fluctuates between, it started at 2005, my numbers were 60,000 attendees, and then the most recent one I have numbers for is in 19 at 80,000, so it doesn't fluctuate that much. It only grew a little bit. But you're saying this is probably 20,000, maybe 10,000?
The last numbers I saw were 11,000.
Oh, okay, so you're not guessing. That was like an actual number somebody
Correct.
said.
That was for 2015.
Oh, 15, a Blade show?
Yeah.
But
2015 was 11,000. I can't find anything else any more recent.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. But Wield, you've been going for a while. As far as I am, the way that I understand it, it's grown a lot since 15, right?
It has. I mean, the new room popped up the second room popped up like 5 years ago.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know if it was 15 or after, but it got so bad. I'm running over everybody's ankles. Because it was like jammed, and this time it was. I didn't run over one ankle. In fact, somebody told me to run over budget, and I didn't.
I did get to meet this guy though.
So you guys did meet up then?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a selfie.
G23 is saying you used to sell Cutco's. I don't know Cutco. Is that it's a brand, I'm guessing?
It's like the Amway of the cutlery world.
Ah, okay. Is it like the middle of the night on old-fashioned cable TV, and they'd have the set of knives that you could buy?
Kinda, yeah.
So DTP was saying something about Blade Show West. He's thinking they're going to have it in California this year. I think
they have a Blade Show West every year.
Oh, they do. Oh, is that the one that was in California, or I mean in Vegas for a while, or is that something else?
I think it's in Vegas, and I think it's been in LA. I don't think it's stationary like the one in Atlanta.
Okay. So now C4 is saying Microtech is better than Benchmade. So do you guys have preferences on those?
I have no experience with either one, so I cannot give an intelligent opinion. Although, in general principle, I would say Microtech would be better than Benchmade because, Benchmade.
I've got all three. I got ProTech, Microtech, and Benchmade, and Benchmade does not pop. It comes out slowly. Like I'll be out there in 45 minutes.
You're talking out the front.
Well, I'm talking about out the side. I only have out the side, and the ProTech it pops out the side. So like if you get the ProTech operator, it's like out the front but out the side. And then the Microtech SOCOM, it's nearly as fast. Both of those are the two top ones, I think. The Benchmade, it's just slow. It's just undersprung.
I got you. Now, see, I think of Microtechs as out the fronts because I guess that's their
bread and butter. That's most of it. Yeah.
So it's but because I've never been into those, I like knives to mostly be utility, and they're expensive. So it's just I don't have the cash to buy a $300 utility knife. So the thing is, if we're talking everything here, my experience with knives and YouTube goes back to 2008 and 9 when I started the channel, and a little bit before that when I was doing blogs and stuff. So I had the advantage of rewinding before all of the phenomenon that has happened since then. And something just made me decide to just one day write a bunch of emails to a bunch of companies and basically just said, here's the knives I would like, please send them to me. I would like to say I said more than that, but that's basically all I said. I just was like, here's all the knives I'd like to review of yours, please send them to me. And I sent Benchmade a letter like that, and they sent me some. So I was aware of them, and I got some, and they blew me away with how nice they were. And I've liked them ever since. When we went to SHOT Show later on and started to meet the people behind the companies, I really think Spyderco is one of my favorite companies. And Benchmade is a big company, so it's not been the same human beings. It's been different people that I've dealt with. And this was years ago that I dealt with them. But my experience with them was not trying to shill their model or their whatever was new that year. I've always been me. So what I like to do is offer information about the knives. So I was really into the blade steels and the manufacturing processes and the designers and the relationships they had with their designers. Because at the time it was Benchmade, CRKT, Spyderco. And of course, Spyderco was Sid or whatever, Sal or whoever his name is. And then he had designers. And then of course, CRKT has a bunch of designers. So anyway, Benchmade to me was a really cool company. And then unfortunately, they went weird and really leaned into their anti-gun situation and all that. So really screwed around with their reputation. But man, before that, they were just a really nice company. But man, they are not giving nothing away. They have a really neat facility and everything, but they're like the opposite. Microtech is more of the small guy. He has a couple of mills and stuff, if I understand it right, but it's not like a big facility like Benchmade, right? It's like dozens of people maybe working on a few machines that kind of handcraft the stuff. Or am I wrong? And Microtech's much bigger than that.
I have no clue.
Anyway, so I do like Benchmade from my limited experience, and I just have never had a Microtech. So anyway, you don't know about my experience, my invite or my view on it, but that's my point of view.
The third company you didn't really mention is ProTech, and they do a lot of stuff where they'll give out blanks to designers and they'll have them tweak them and make them better and co-brand them. They do a lot with the ProTech company. So I really like that they work with the smaller companies and really, and I met the president, his name's Dave, and just really cool guy. So, and they're all in the same breath, all three of those companies.
As far as the tactical double-edged fighting kind of knives. Yeah. I might have heard of ProTech. I've certainly never owned one, and I'm trying to remember, did they make a gun or was that Microtech that made a 9mm in 2009? Or do you guys know?
Microtech also makes silencers too.
It might have been Microtech then, but one of the Switchblade companies, because Switchblades were cool, but it wasn't till like 10 or 12 or something that everybody was like, oh yeah, let's make Switchblades legal. So it was just like a couple of us states that had Switchblades. There was just no Switchblade manufacturers because there was no market. And then as soon as the market opened, everybody started making Switchblades. And I remember Microtech being a Switchblade company, or I mean, one of the Switchblade companies made a 9mm. And I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. It looked a lot like a Rohrbaugh, right? Except it was like a little tiny 9mm, and it came with the Switchblade. And most people I knew, because this was back right at the beginning of me doing YouTube, and we didn't do videos yet. We would take pictures and then show slideshows because it was the olden days. But I remember people being like, oh, I'd buy that and throw away the gun because I want that knife. You know, it was like people wanted the knife from this place and they didn't really care so much about the gun. But so I don't know if that was Protech or Microtech, but no guns at Blade Show. It's all there was a meteorite gun. I saw a meteorite in 1911.
Yeah, their Nighthawk was there, and they had the Corinth revolvers.
Oh, cool.
You didn't see him?
I did a video with them.
No, I didn't see him.
It was a small 10x10 booth, kind of in the middle. Yeah, I didn't see him till day 2.
So as far as the booths, if you've seen SHOT Show, like somebody that goes up on the second floor and kind of looks over the whole area, you know, SHOT Show is a pretty big freestanding room. Some of the booths will be like 2+ stories tall, and they'll take people upstairs to do business with them and stuff so that they're up and away from the conversations on the main floor, and just to be cool, I guess, to have more vertical real estate for banners and stuff. So does anyone do that at Blade Show? Are there any like over the top booths?
No.
No.
Okay. They're all just standard tables and drapes and.
Yep. Well,
Yep.
There are some booths. You know, there were 2 big trucks. You know, Microtech had a truck, and Medford had a truck.
Okay. Where they just kind of park it inside and open it up, like if it was, they could do that outside too. Probably it would be the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, that's kind of cool. That's a good idea. The Derringer, was it Bond Arms, does something like that with a little tiny trailer. So I guess you didn't do this class, but what, there were some kind of classes you could learn stuff?
Yeah, there were a whole bunch of classes that you could take if you wanted to. They generally cost, there was a fee associated with them. I was signed up to take a leather tooling class, but I ended up not doing it. I decided that I was going to spend that day going home a little bit early instead of waiting until Sunday, because I'd already accomplished everything I wanted to accomplish. And honestly, my brother needed to get home a little bit earlier because he had to go to work early Monday morning and didn't want to get in at like 2 or 3 in the morning. So I left early and we went home. I did make one pit stop on the way back. We stopped at the Bass Pro somewhere in Tennessee. It wasn't as good as the one in Springfield, I can say that.
How many have you been to? Have you not been to a lot of?
Just the one in Tennessee and the one in Springfield. And the one in Springfield, Missouri is freaking huge and a resort in and of itself.
You're talking about the one with the museum in it in Springfield?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think that's the biggest one I've ever. That might be the first Bass Pro or something too. That's definitely the biggest one I've ever been. I've been to, I don't know, dozens of them. So yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, that thing's awesome.
But it's got that whole, like, I didn't even go to the right. There's something, if you walk in the main door of the one in Missouri, there's like some kind of fish auditorium.
Yeah, there's an aquarium there.
Right. I didn't even go over there yet. So they're talking about switchblades. I didn't even think about that. I've lived in Arizona too long, and switchblades have always been legal here. So I've had legal knives since like the 90s, and I'd never thought about it, or I don't think about it very often, because I bought all my switchblades back in the 90s, and I figured out I don't like switchblades way back in the 90s. So where you guys are at, are switchblades good to go, or are they not good to go where you're at?
They just became legal in Ohio.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they've always been legal here.
Now you like stilettos. That's different. That's like a unique unique knife. But as far as like a utilitarian knife, one of the knives I did get from Benchmade was an auto axis, a switchblade version of the axis knife in a griptilian format, and it on paper, brilliant. It's awesome. Every video I've ever done though, I explain why I hate it. because I mean, I guess it's good for like if you were in some theoretical knife fight, but that's the only reason it's good, and that doesn't ever happen to me. So I just don't like switchblades. But so I guess the discussion they're having out there, I always wonder if people don't have switchblades, if it's like the grass is always greener type of thing. And it's easiest way to describe it is you can't close a switchblade. You always have a spring, so you always have to bring a second hand up or do something. And I'd rather have a way to close my knife easily than open it. I mean, there's a billion ways to open a knife quickly. I don't need a switchblade anymore.
You need to look at the Malibu. It's made by ProTech. It's a flipper, but you press the button and it just completely deadens everything and it just rolls back in. It's just like all resistance disappears when you press the button.
Yeah, I could handle that. In other words, you don't have to use two hands to close it safely.
Exactly. You can flip it over, press the button, and flip it back closed if you want it. Yeah.
I'm done with that. So it sounds like somebody's got
Malibu, and that was the show knife for ProTech. It had a abalone button, and then they also had another California legal that was 1.5 inch brass titanium grip, but it was a full auto, but it was only 1.5 inches legal, so it's California legal. So that's a big market for them.
I was going to say, let's not waste our time on switchblades because you guys are talking about blade show, but we got a whole bunch of questions about them. So now that I'm trying to go back here, I have a Glock knife. It's kind of like a boot knife, but a long skinny blade, double-edged. What does it say? Double-edged on the tip, specialized for wet work. Did you know that the Glock boot knife that Glock makes is the bayonet for the Steyr AUG, the bullpup Steyr AUG has a bayonet, and it's the Glock knife. Same way that they made the service pistol for the Austrian army, they were making the Glock knife as the bayonet for the Austrian army.
That's neat. Did not know that.
You can take the little thingy off the handle of a Glock knife, and there's a hole in there, and that's where it accepts the little goofy thing for the bayonet. Or it would, I guess. The actual bayonet, I think, is different. I have a couple of them. They're very similar. I got some videos on the other channel somewhere that kind of show them off different or next to each other. But I'm a big fan. But Glock knives are pretty strong. They're good for throwing. I throw the crap out of them, and they work. They don't fall apart, and they're pretty balanced. They're super. Well, if you get them cheap, they're a decent knife. If you pay full price, I guess maybe not. But what do you guys think? Have you guys ever had a Glock knife? Do you like them or do you hate them?
I have never had one.
They're the kind of thing you either like or hate. I mean, it's sort of like a bayonet. They're not like a knife you'd sharpen and use it for like all kinds of tasks. They're not like a Mora, right? But they are what they are. They're a little bit better than a bayonet. They're kind of like a cross between a K-bar and a AK bayonet, maybe. So they're like a little more.
It wouldn't be my kind of thing.
No. It's definitely extra on top of it, or like just as a novelty. I would never consider one just as like my only knife. In fact, I'd be pissed if that was my only option. It's not that good of a knife.
Yeah, I got on the Mora kick a couple years ago. I've got like 6 of them, and because they're just so cheap and so great. It's the most incredible steel, and then you say, okay, I got 5 or 6. Okay, I'm good.
9 times out of 10, when I'm in the woods, I carry a Mora companion carbon.
Yeah,
I only have one knife.
$15 knife, man, and it's just it works.
Yeah, if I had to run off with one knife, it would be a Mora, but or maybe a K-bar, but probably a Mora. I went to Smoky Mountain a couple of times, and that was the place I found the most variety of them in one case to look at, because there's so many different handles and blades and whatnot. They're all the same shape, but they all have different like stainless or different kind of metals and stuff. I think I had maybe 8 of them at one time. I gave a bunch away one time as a giveaway, all my like unique ones, but I had a bunch of unique ones. But I kept all my practical ones. In fact, I must always have a Mora within arm's reach. They're just so, like you say, I think I paid $11 for most of mine.
Yeah, they're the hell of a value for the money.
They're almost boring, but they're like Glocks. It's like, dang it, they just work and they're $11. And they're not made in the USA. That's the only thing I don't like about it.
There are companies that really make some nice sheaths that actually cost about $15 as well, just to hit that price point. But it's kind of crazy. You buy a really nice leather sheath to upscale your Mora, and then you got a $30 knife.
Interesting. See, I like the plastic clip-in sheath that I get with my cheap ones because they're plastic and they just, they're kind of utilitarian.
Yeah, I made a sheath for the Mora. Got a video on that somewhere.
Well, let me ask that then. Was Mora there? Do they show up at things like this?
Yeah, there was someone from Mora there. Was with the Pathfinder school. The Dave Canterbury, the guy that was on Dual Survival the first couple seasons.
Sure. So they don't need to. They're like Victorinox. Like if they show up, great. If they don't, great. They're always going to sell. They're a market. They're a common name. They don't care. Okay. But David Canterbury was there. You guys, did you know him then? You took him in his class before?
Yeah, I've met him. I
haven't met him, but back in the olden days when we were all big, when there was fewer big channels, we would chat with each other. And so I've chatted with him back in the olden days about tech stuff, but I've watched his stuff and I respect it. I just, I only got X amount of brain cells and I fill it with 2A. So I don't go out camping enough, but it's interesting as hell. I've been watching what'll happen to me is I'll go on Instagram, and if you, at least right now, because they changed Instagram, but if you look at stuff that you've already seen on Instagram, it'll start to show you stuff that you're not subscribed to. And almost inevitably, David Canterbury's little things come up, but not from his channel, from people that are reposting his stuff. Because he's mastered like the 1 minute show you what he's trying to get accomplished, right? He'll start, he'll finish, and he'll start, he'll show you, and then he'll finish. And then maybe a summary at the end within a minute. And it'll be starting a fire, making a little thing out of a filter, or making a thing into a filter, or like trapping a rabbit, all these little tasks. And then a million channels online think it's clever and repost them. And because I watch them, Instagram logarithm throws them all at me. So I see so much Dave Canterbury now. Problem is, I don't know if it's like 100 years old Dave Canterbury or if it's yesterday, because it's all stolen. But yeah, he's a cool dude.
Well, if you pay attention, you can tell by the tattoos and the length of his beard.
Ah, okay. And I have noticed that he changes. Like, he's gotten a lot more, I don't know what to call it, older maybe, but his style has changed. He used to, like, for a while there, he was making everything out of leather. He would always have something he built, like he made or sewed himself. He was wearing, like, now it's more like he just have a t-shirt on, it seems like, or at least a lot of these videos, t-shirt on.
I saw Ernest Emerson this time, and I didn't recognize him. I was talking to him, and I met him over 10 years, 4 other times. And I guess it's just COVID or whatever. He grew out his beard, but I did not recognize him. I'm talking to him. And then I looked down at his tag and I'm like, oh, I am actually talking to him. I was like a half a second asking where was Ernest while talking to this guy. It was just kind of crazy. But I did an interview with him. And even at that point, I hadn't even looked at the tag. And I was thinking, he definitely seems well versed, and he's probably Ernest's brother or something. So I introduced him as one of the founders, and I looked at his tag, and I thought it was Ernest, and I'm like, oh shit. It's kind of funny. I guess just COVID, or maybe I forgot what he looked like because I missed last year. But anyway, it was kind of weird. Being a guy that's as high ranked as he is, and what he does in the knife industry and martial arts.
Dude, it's a different person, but the guy from Cold Steel, right? I'm walking around SHOT Show 2010 in North Carolina. So this is 2010, it's like little baby G-Webs walking around, and I'm walking around the SHOT Show. This is like my 5th SHOT Show, so I think I'm an expert at SHOT Show or whatever, right? And this is my 2nd year with a camera, so I think I'm like perfect. I think I'm bringing the only camera to a SHOT Show. And anyhow, so I just got done looking at some cans, and I can remember this to this day. And as you described that story, it's almost similar story. I'm walking out. I've just got done recording some cans, and I think I just got the first can, like some suppressor videos on YouTube. I think, if I remember right. I was super proud of the fact that I got these suppressor videos though, and I'm walking away thinking about how I'm going to edit them or whatever. And some guy goes, "Hey, would you like to?" Because he had seen me do the videos, right? He goes, "Hey, would you like to do some videos about these knives?" And I go, no. And I kept walking. And it turns out it was, what's his face? Lynn Thompson. Cold Steel. And like, I'm such an asshole because I knew who he was. But at the time, I'm like 100% focused on my camera. And I'm like, yeah. I came back the next day and I'm like, I'm so sorry, dude. Like, I had no idea that I had no idea. And anyway, yeah, I felt like a dumbass. Like, because I didn't expect the guy who runs the company to be standing in the aisle, touching me on the arm and going, "Hey, would you like to do some videos in here?" in 2010, like.
Did he tell you to pound sand after that?
No. He understood. He's a cool dude, man. I've always liked that guy. He is, he was already doing videos, cutting the rope and cutting the pig and having those little video clips, even back before the internet at gun shops and stuff, having little thingies that would show up in little kiosks and stuff. He knew what he was doing. But same kind of thing. Like, I would have never thought it was the main guy until like after it might've been like later on that day. I was like, wait a minute. Why did that guy seem so familiar? Why would I know the guy who was at Cold Steel? And then I'm like, wait a minute. Anyhow, so we were talking about Mora. These guys are out here talking about Switchblades. I'm trying to get back to where. Do you guys have anything as I'm looking for stuff that you wanted to talk about and I'm just all over the place? Something that you guys wanted to mention yet? Or that
I think what we're kind of missing there are a lot of shy introvert knife makers there. There are a whole table, like 100 yards by 100-yard block of just these independent at-home knife makers, and that was kind of a cool place to dive into.
These are artisans, right? This is because I've been to that show in what is it, in Vegas, and I kind of think I know what you mean, where they're just there and they're sitting there and they're not like standing up hoping you come over. It's not like somebody at a gun show who hopes you come over and buy their stuff. They're there and they're willing to talk about their stuff, but they're probably halfway there for other knife makers to come over and have a conversation, or like the 4 guys that actually buy their knives, and otherwise they're just there to answer questions, or maybe the press person that comes up and thinks that they have an interesting thing to add to their magazine, right? Like, they're really there for the community. And then that's actually neat because they're not like on, right? They're not.
There was one guy, and you just nailed it. He was so much. His cheapest knife in his box was $6,000. His most expensive was $60,000. These are, 4.5-inch, folded, but they were hand engraved, embossed with gold and platinum and palladium and different nude women in different colors. It was the most, but they were so shiny. The photos and videos just came out like crap. But anyway, I wish I could share it with people. But it is pretty. The guy was so shy and timid, and he was barely telling me about what's going on. And I just kept asking him questions. But anyway, the video was horrible, but he'll never make it. But I just wish somebody could see all these knives, because there's some secret collector that's got these, $30,000 knife that I don't know what they do with it. They keep it in a safe, but it was a beautiful thing to look at.
No, that's what people that run companies give to each other if like winning a poker game or something. Like, oh, dang it, now I'm gonna you won, so you get the $30,000 knife back. There's Meggie saying, does Benchmade ever get back on the good side of gun owners? No. I think that they could do something. I don't know what, but they could do something. I mean, they did something to get us pissed. They could do something to get us unpissed. I just don't know what it is. I mean, if they started like donating knives to units or agencies or somehow, something cool, like, I'd be all right. That'd be a step. If they donated something to knife rights, I don't know, made a new knife rights thing. I don't know.
And, just a donation to gun owners of America would be a good step in the right direction, or
interesting.
In the other top 5 or whatever.
You would, and being a knife company, they could do a Gun Owners of America version, a Second Amendment Foundation version. That would be a step, I suppose. So
that would be a step towards redemption.
And if they did that for 10 years in a row, it's like, okay, you've worn off like the one bad thing you did, because all they really did is one bad thing and then leaned into it instead of saying sorry. And once they figured it out, I'll bet you they'll never do it again. If they started doing it every weekend, I don't think they're ever getting back, right? People start throwing away their knives, but you only do it once and just learn your lesson. I guess it's possible to come back. People buy Springfields, right? Somehow. Kingpin is saying, are Switchblades Are switchblades useful tool or a gimmick? I have held one. He's saying I haven't held one since he was like 10. That I used to think back in the day, the toys were gimmicks. They were just like, oh, look, I got a switchblade, but it was almost garbage. Nowadays, like some of the switchblades I've seen are stronger than regular knives. Like they're super good knives sometimes. Very useful. And I think one-hand opening blade is I can't even tell you how many. I have had them since the 2000s, and I do use them, except that I use an axis blade. Once I figured out an axis blade is just as fast, or an axis lock. But yeah, I always carried switchblades, or always had switchblades around, I should say. I think they're super useful. What do you guys think?
Out the side, switchblades are incredible. I'm a quadriplegic. I couldn't live without one. So
I've never really played with them. I mean, the only switchblades I've really held were, the cheap stiletto types. And meh.
Those are fun. Those are fun, though.
They're something like this is, solid and useful.
Yeah, but if you had that and for whatever reason you wanted it in a switch and it was that strong, then yeah, it would be useful.
Yeah, sure.
But like I say, I really like them that I can close. So for me, as soon as I could figure out, I like switchblades. I would have, if you would have asked me before I learned about the axis lock, I would have said switchblades 100%. Like get a switchblade, use a switchblade. Most of the time, it's just like a misdemeanor or like a quit it or give me your knife. It's not like you're going to jail in most places unless you're stabbing somebody with it. So I would have said just get a switchblade, period. But like I say, now that I've had the axis blade where you can actually close it, or what is there a name for that one you're talking about, Wield? The type of lock you're talking about?
Well, they're calling it a Malibu. I don't know if there's a name for the locking mechanism or unlocking, but look it up. It's ProTech, TECH, Malibu.
Okay.
And they probably tell you what the lock is when you look it up.
Switchblades are popular for close quarter. I personally think a bladed weapon in the hands of a skilled user is very deadly, especially in close quarters. Yeah, my favorite knife fighting technique is to get the hell out of there because I don't want to knife fight anyone. I don't want to knife fight an amateur.
What my goal was at this show, I had two that I was really looking for, and one was a buck knife automatic, but I wanted one with a clip. And I've been asking Buck Knife for 5 years for this, and they can't get their shit together. And so I found a knife company that made them. It looks just like a folding hunter. It's got silver. What are the ballast, or what are the two pieces of metal on each end?
Bolster. Sorry,
should know that after this week. Anyway, it had two silver bolsters, and then it had stag handles, and it's automatic, but it's still locking back, and it's got a great clip. And local made in Alabama, just a great guy, father and son, called Barron Company. Anyway, bought one of those, and then my second goal for the whole show was, the ProTech. I was looking for the operator because it's just impossible to find online, and so I got both of those. So I was real excited.
I've been trying to get through the comments. I'm going to attempt to get through them because I think I can see the end of the comment. So C4 had said you should have gone by Smoky Mountain, and you'd said, I think to him, yes, I should have, but that's right. A little bit out of your way if I'm thinking of the map right. But I thought I saw Smoky Mountain had a presence at the show. Did they?
They did.
Okay.
They kind of have one corner of the whole show. I mean, not a whole quarter, but like one wall, like that's 3 or 4 tables long, six booths long, and then they got another one on the other wall.
And is that's just all sales?
Yeah, it's just sales. They got different brands. I'm guessing different brands sponsor each table or each section is kind of what I'm guessing.
Have either of you guys been to the Smoky Mountain Knife Works store?
I have not.
I have.
Okay, so you know what the store's like. It's nuts. You've seen the store though, right? Like on videos and stuff, it's really big and multi-leveled and stuff. It's a really neat store. It's sort of like going to an Ewok village if the Ewok village was all a giant knife store, because it's not like one level and a second floor. It's like, I don't know, 17 levels. Like they went nuts making the levels like the Mora knives are on their own level, and like the hatchets are on their own level. And if you go downstairs 2 levels, it's the throwing stars, and there's stairs everywhere. It's weird.
Yeah, but there's a wheelchair thing, but you only get to half the floors.
I was just gonna say, as I'm sitting here describing it, it's got to be horrible because there's no ramps anywhere. Now that I'm thinking about it, there was like one ramp to the cash registers and then an elevator somewhere. So you probably
what you got to do is you got to go up an extra half a floor, and then you got to get somebody to bump you down 4 steps. So yeah, it's rough.
Yeah, because there's some anyway. I don't know what they were thinking. It's neat, but it's definitely not accessible. I suspect they made it before they knew what the hell they were supposed to be doing with accessibility, right?
Another elevator shaft to meet those odd floor levels, you know.
But anyhow, it's a unique store. I've been going to it since I was a little kid when it was just the big metal building out back, and even then it was just a huge swap meet of knives. So anyway, I figured that was worth touching on because I like that company. Did they have any catalogs? Were you able to pick up a Smoky Mountain Knife Work catalog by any chance?
No.
Back when I was a kid, that was the thing. I wonder if they still even do it.
I don't even know if they do it anymore. But I don't know. I haven't seen them in probably 6 years or so.
Okay. So you know what I'm talking
about. One every once in a while.
Okay, you guys have seen them then. Okay.
Yeah, they send me one every once in a while. I've bought stuff from Smoky Mountain Knife Works, just on the internet.
That was almost like back before the internet. It's like that you'd have one Smoky Mountain Knife Works catalog and you'd know pretty much every knife that existed and a pretty decent price on it. So you could take that to your local store and be like, do you have this one? Or like, I could get it cheaper at Smoky Mountain.
Budget, you've seen the knife? I mean, you've seen the catalog? They do make them?
Yeah, they send them to me once in a while.
Okay.
Cool. Back in the day, they used to be like,
go to their website and buy something. They'll send you some shit. Every once in a while, they'll keep sending it to you, hoping you'll buy more.
Did you see the guys from Blade HQ?
Did not stop in and talk with them, but they were there.
Yeah, they were there.
Do you know them?
No,
I did not.
I signed the wall, and it was a long line they're like, you could either get a T-shirt real quick, or you could wait in line for 30 minutes and talk with them. I'm like, yeah, I'll take the T-shirt.
So I can remember back in the day, whenever there was Nothing Fancy and FPS Russia, if you call him a gun channel. Then there was me, and then Eric, and then Hickok, and everybody else was under us. And then it went on for a little while, and then whenever Fated Destiny and that group came along, that's when when they became a YouTube channel and started doing videos and stuff. So is that a group of people, or is that a store, or is that a YouTube channel, or what's the deal? Blade HQ. It's a store, or is it a YouTube channel that has a store? Because at the beginning it was a YouTube channel, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think it's more of a store now with a YouTube channel.
Okay. But that's their thing still, is to like have all the knives and have all the videos of like all the reviews, because they're a store and they got them all available. Everything's open or something.
And they're comparing it. I think they're probably giving Smoky Mountain Knife Company a run for their money because they're doing so much video content.
Yeah, I don't really pay attention anymore, because that's what I was going to say too. Whenever they start all getting big, I quit really paying attention, because knives are neat, but I mean, once you got a bunch of knives, all they're going to do is change the shape of them. They're not going to make a knife different, except have a new metal, I guess. Have you ever guys heard of a knife manufacturer called Crappy, made out of Apalooka, Florida? They were sold in the 90s. I have one with a custom leather sheet. It might be called Carape. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Let's
never heard of it.
Let's call it crepe just for the sake of them.
But no, I haven't heard of them either.
I hadn't heard of them.
Okay, so I think at that point, I'm zip through. It's going to go forever because I'm doing the comments slowly. So going back to the show, any surprises, anything you didn't think you were going to see, or that you had no idea would happen and you got to see it?
I had one thing. I was thinking about getting the Wicked Edge, because they sharpened my knife 2 years ago, and it still kept that wicked edge, just easy to maintain after that amount of time. And there was but I didn't really want to spend $300 and still have to buy more and more stones. And, I'm getting the, econo kit at $300. So I really didn't want to go there. And I met another knife sharpening company. It's just much more easier, faster process. And so I went in a different direction. I forgot the name of the company, but I'll post a video pretty soon.
How many other video people were there? Were there a lot of cameras? Were people making their videos for their channels or just to like show their friend at home?
I saw a few. It was easy to tell the dudes with the dead cats on their microphones and the camera guy following them. Yeah.
Yeah.
There were a few of them there.
Could you?
I had no idea who they were, but yeah.
Okay, that was my next question. So it's not like
I'm sure they had no idea who I was. So
no, that's the question. Were you guys carrying around cameras and stuff? Was it obviously you guys were YouTubers?
Yeah, with me, yes.
Yeah, I had a GoPro mounted on my chair.
Here's some good ones. So Echo is asking, are the old school popular brands like Buck and Gerber and Kershaw and Spyderco still as popular as the newer companies are?
Yes.
Yeah, I think they always will be. And in answer to your question out there earlier, Echo, yes, Kershaw does make a spring assist. That's what I've been playing with.
And also I'd add Cold Steel to that list.
Yeah, but they're more the Mall Ninja type stuff. That's what they had there.
They did have that there. I was surprised they had
Mall Ninja shit there.
Yeah.
What are you calling that? Are you saying like their baseball bat made out of plastic and like the swords and like
the swords and the throwing stars and the schlock
star, a frisbee size throwing star.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All ninja shit. They did have some utility type stuff there, which is cool. They had the Spetsnaz shovel that they sell, which is, from everything I've heard, absolutely excellent.
Oh, wait a minute. You don't have one of them?
I don't have one. I need to get one.
Got more than one. Those things are definitely everything you've ever heard good about them and more. Yes, they're definitely good. Okay. Well, that's the thing. What's that?
You have one, Pete? I mean, good G-Webs?
Yeah, two. I definitely like those. I did a thing, though, back in the day when I was still doing gear reviews all the time. I don't know if you guys ever seen the Chinese shovel video? Like the Chinese army shovel?
No.
No.
Oh my goodness. We're going to take a little field trip. So hopefully you got your field trip permission slips. I'm about to copyright the video here. This is how you copyright a video. So these are some videos.
That's a pretty cool channel.
Yeah, we're going to go over and find thing. Let's see. Let's type in Chinese. Is it legal to type that in on a live show? Chinese Army shovel.
You probably have to do it from DuckDuckGo.
Oh no, it's better to be on YouTube. That's right. I found it in the first place. This is probably it. Okay, you can dig holes with it or whatever. We're gonna get a budget reaction video to this. Okay, you can dig a hole with it. You expect that out of a shovel. You get this awesome Western. You get this awesome Western music. Okay, so you can dig a trench line, right? That's awesome. Fire line.
I was gonna say, is this the soundtrack to Blazing Saddles or what?
Now look at, you don't even have to be wearing army clothes, dude. You could just be like out playing golf or whatever and have to find that ball. Or you could be wearing tiger stripe. You could still dig a hole, right? No big deal. It's that shovel works no matter what clothes you're wearing and how fast you're digging. Now it's a spade. You thought you couldn't turn it into a pick, I guess. Now it's a pick, right? So now you can make a bunch of dirt on the ground into the road. And now look, you can cut a hole in a sand wall, right? So let's say you didn't have any grenades or C4. You can eventually dig a hole in that wall with that pick. So at this point, you're probably already willing to buy the shovel. We're not done. We still got like 3 minutes of this video. And it isn't even started. It's an axe. So now you need to chop down some firewood or whatever. No problem, because your shovel is also an axe. So you might be thinking, okay, a whole bunch of other shovels are also axes, so big deal, right? All right. So it's a fine axe. So now I'm cutting tent poles, and now I'm cutting a piece of block. That's piece of rock. That's rock. So now it's a saw. Now I'm cutting a piece of pipe. Now I'm cutting a piece of bamboo, right? Now it's a saw. So it's a shovel and an axe and a saw. He's cutting metal over here. He's cutting a hose over here. He's cutting the bamboo over here. Now he's cutting a potato.
Oh,
so now you're cooking dinner with it, right? So at this point, you're like, well, you can't French fry those. No, you can French fry them also. So this shovel is beyond a regular shovel. And now he's making some potato chips. You can make all the different kind of fries or whatever. And it's not done. This is barely halfway through the video. Now he's cutting the top off of a coconut or something. He's using it more like an axe, kind of a hatchet thing. Now he's measuring things with it because the wooden part has lines on it that have no numbers or anything, but he used it to cut that piece of wire. So now it's a measuring tool, right? And it's also scissors because he's using the hinge over there to be scissors on that barbed wire. And now he's going to use the hinge to be a wire cutter, right? And now he's using the hinge to be a wire cutter and barbed wire, which is helpful. And now he is cutting, I think he was cutting some kind of wire tie, like off a package. And now he's using the little hook thing as a stairway. So it's also a stairway. If you cut holes in the side of a wall, it's a stairway, right? No problem. So now your army can just go up any wall with that shovel. It's still only halfway over. And just in case you thought that 3 people couldn't go up the wall, you're wrong. Now you can tie a piece of rope to your shovel and it's a grappling hook. So our shovels never did that, right? Boom.
Yeah.
Easy peasy. No big deal. The whole army's going to climb up that rope now. So that part
uses it to climb up icebergs, right?
Easy. Now he's throwing it up another level, right up under that window. No problem. Over onto a Chinese temple. No problem. Up some bamboo. No problem. Some more bamboo. No problem. So you just need some rope, but now your shovel is a grappling hook. And look, now he went away up a tree. And I think he's doing something about dropping it. Now he's defending himself out of a vehicle with a shield. That's not just a shovel, it's now a shield. If somebody comes up and starts smacking you with a broom, you got a shield, right? And now he's going to use that offensively to grapple this guy with the broom. So now he wails on the guy with the broom. And it's a hammer. So it went from being a melee weapon to a hammer. All right. So there you go. Now if you got to build something right after melee weapon somebody, no problem. Bunch of hammers. Easy. It's a nice hammer too. And it's the thing you can remove the nails. Like, oh, I put the nail in the wrong place. No problem. You got all these little contraptions built into the hinge like this. Look at that. So ours is worthless. Right then, everybody in the Chinese army gets a bottle of booze, I guess. They got a bottle opener on there. It's not over. Now it's a can opener. So your shovels, can opener, made French fries with it earlier. Yeah, got a bottle of wine. Now you got some ham. It's pretty groovy in the Chinese army, but you're worried about somebody coming along. So you're going to set up some barbed wire. You got a little twisty thing on there for making barbed wire. And then you can cut it probably because you already proved that you can cut it before. Oh, man, it did some other stuff too. But anyway, I bought one of them things, and then I felt compelled to buy like every country's shovel. And at that point, I bought the cold steel shovel. And the cold steel shovel is the best shovel of all shovels, literally. It's definitely.
Now I'm going to have nightmares about drunken Chinese shovel ninjas coming to get me.
Here's the deal. They successfully can defend against a broom, but not other things. So bring nunchucks.
Oh, okay.
They didn't even bring that up in the movie, if you notice. Anyhow, so sorry to get totally distracted. I always thought the stuff from Cold Steel was amazing. Yes, it's Mall Ninja stuff, but it's like the ultimate quality. It's Mall Ninja things, but it's the quality version of the junk that you would get at the mall. So if it was like that giant ninja star, I'll bet you can throw that thing for like a long time before it falls apart and enjoy throwing a giant throwing star. Like I think that would be a lot of fun in the backyard instead of like lawn darts. If you had like a giant piece of tree to throw it at or something like what Clover's got. But anyway, so and usually it's like $11. They're not really expensive. what's it saying? The bush spear. I think that thing is pretty neat.
Okay, so fully appreciating the frisbee size throwing star when I was at the show, and now after watching that video, I think I can fully appreciate the Cold Steel full size throwing star.
I don't know if you're going to cut potato chips with it. So let's see. As far as any other questions that are coming up out there, the percentage of companies versus custom makers. I'm sure the size of the companies was bigger because they had bigger booths.
I almost want to say there were more custom makers, depending upon how you define custom makers. If you define a custom maker as one dude, then no, that obviously companies outweighed them. But if you define a custom maker as a small company, then I don't know.
Oh, I see what you mean. If you count custom makers as like the smallest of the companies, then it would be more different, or it'd be equal. Then
it would have been more custom makers than companies.
It has to be somebody out of his garage or something. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. We're definitely living in a world where it's a lot easier to move from an idea to a prototype, even having somebody else make your prototype, to buying a piece of equipment and making it like in-house in a big garage or in a side of in an existing business or something. Because I've just, in my time, without even trying hard, just noticed companies come out of nowhere. Somebody who's clever or working, who works with their hands or something, and then finds something that people want, and then provides the supply, and then supplies the demand, and then boom, they're a business, and all of a sudden they either become big or continue to work out of their garage at a rationed rate or whatever.
There was a company called American Blade Works, and they've made an exceptional project, and within a 2-year period, they're already on version 7, and they brought 80 of their version 7 knives to the show, and they were pretty incredible. I mean, me as a quadriplegic, I could open them up. They were great flippers, best steel, nice, 3 different versions, all different colors. It was a pretty incredible knife, and at $185, I think that's as cheap a custom knife as you're going to find for that price range.
G23 saying, what's the company from Idaho that makes bayonets and chainsaws? There was Duracoat, and I don't know where they were, but I remember I went past Duracoat somewhere on the last tour, so they might have been up in Idaho or Montana or someplace like that. They were closed when I went by them. But I remember they do Duracoat, so they're like a paint job company, but they would paint up their guns. And one year at SHOT Show and probably at NRA, they brought a couple of guns painted up, and they had chainsaws on them. So I don't know if they ever sold them, but I know that there are pictures of their guns with a little chainsaw, the electric chainsaw hanging off like a bayonet, like where the M203 would be. They did that like in 2012 as like a joke. So it was way before anything modern. But there might be those pictures going around, and I think that company is in Idaho or North Dakota or something. So any companies that you did not get to see that you would have liked to see?
Yeah. I did not get to talk to Condor Knife and Tool because the guy that one of the themes that I ran into there was, the guy that talks to media people isn't in our booth, and the guy was never in the booth. So that was either they didn't want to talk to me or these guys were never there. So the guy from Condor that handles the media people was never in the damn booth, nor was the guy from CRKT, whom I've talked with before, who sent me a knife to review before. I just think that guy genuinely wasn't in his booth. I wanted to talk to him, but wasn't there.
Same thing with Buck Knives. He would not, the people that were there would not do a video, but they kept referring to a guy that would be, and I even set a time with him, and he was a no-show.
Yep.
All right, well, I feel obligated then, since you brought it up, to explain that I hate buck knives because of that same instance. In 2010, I spent a bunch of money going to North Carolina to go to NRA show, and buck knives was about the rudest people that ever been to me, ever, in my experience. Going to SHOT Show for 19 years, buck knives was the rudest people I've ever encountered, trying to help them and being new. In 2010, I was only 6 years into it, and relatively new. There was only 2 years of doing video for the internet. Those people were so rude to me, I wouldn't even own a buck knife today. But that's it. Some of them care about what amateurs try to do as our own hobby slash entrepreneurialism and community building, or participating in a community if nothing else. And some of them take that community for granted, and we owe them purchases, and others relish in the community and experience it and like the community, and others could care less one way or the other, right? So that's sad. As far as them not being available for media, when I asked about cameras, you said there was just a few. Is this the type of event where the media is a consideration? Because you also mentioned they didn't know who you were when you got there. Or is this the kind of event like Wanamaker where, Clover really initiated the whole concept of media? They had technically had media before, but it had been like a one at a time thing where they walked around with the person, and it was like usually a news reporter from a local TV or something that was just doing a community interest piece. Like Clover created the whole concept of having pro gun show promoter backed media that was there to help, where something like NRA show or SHOT Show, they literally have media ingrained. It's a part of the whole, and it's the whole reason that they do it is for media. Is Blade Show a media event, or is it just a meet and greet for the public and you're kind of in their way or like an extra? Or do you think they bring those people like, this is a great time to get all these videos that we can't get at SHOT Show?
I don't know.
I guess it kind of depends on the booth too. I mean, it
depends on who you're talking to.
So I guess that's something, is I just try to play devil's advocate, because it could be that they're just like, oh, this is the one show we get to go to where we don't have to do videos. In that case, the guy who does the videos goes and drinks beer the whole time, or it's the other way around. Maybe he was so busy. Was it the kind of place, like when I was talking to ATF and I did a couple of videos one year, I would ask the guys that year to go into the hallway with me and do the videos away from the crowd? Was it the kind of atmosphere where it was really loud and they might have gone somewhere?
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was really loud. It was really loud, but it would not have been convenient to go into a hallway to do an interview.
Okay, it wasn't like there's a place to duck aside or anything.
No.
And first of all, in college, my nickname was Buck Knife. Okay, so I love the company, but I was really disappointed in them. And then second, I went to every flipper knife on the table on Saturday, every single small booth, and met every single knife maker that would talk with me on camera, that had any kind of knife that would fold, or collectors. And they were very, very shy group of people, in the most part, but they're not media savvy. It's not a media, that group. I mean, even the most gregarious guy I saw the whole time, his name was Greg Stevens Design. He even said, "Oh, I wasn't expecting you to flip the camera on me and just say, 'Tell me what you think about the show.'" He was kind of surprised, and I did throw him under the bus. I thought he'd sink or swim because he was such a great talker before I turned the camera on. But anyway, he did good, and it's a good video. But he was like, wow, I wasn't expecting that. I'm like, I'll do it, or take a double take if you want. Anyway, it was, so there were hits and misses.
Dude, that's awesome. So it sounds a lot like in the early days when we were taking videos when no one had taken videos yet, and you sort of had to get them accustomed to it. And, so that's interesting. And one of the reasons I'm glad, I don't know if I said it, I appreciate you guys coming on and joining me tonight, because I never get to go to Blade Show. I'm like Smeggy. I'm like 3. If it was in Tucson, I'd be going. If it was in Phoenix, I'd probably go. But if it was in the next town over, I probably wouldn't, because I don't have the resources to just drop everything and drive that far. So I appreciate that you guys went and are able to share it. That's interesting because it may be the reason I got the hiccups. Maybe the reason I haven't seen so many reviews of it is because it's not conducive to doing reviews. So the few people that have brought cameras were discouraged and didn't bother to pursue it. So if that is the case, then I appreciate you guys even more, because the fact that there's no videos there doesn't necessarily mean that they're opposed to it. It just means they haven't been experienced with it and are exposed to it. So you guys bringing cameras there, you weren't like rude or obnoxious about it. So you're giving them that, experience. So, next time around, they'll be like, oh, what if somebody brings a camera? Maybe I'll think about something to say, or maybe I'll bring that other person who would like to say stuff on camera. And then it could bring show to a whole other level. So we got Smeggy asking, what was the coolest thing you saw? And then what was the dumbest thing you saw? I don't think there was any 9mm there, was.
The Nighthawk with the comp with the red dot was absolutely the coolest pistol I've ever felt in my life. It was like on glass ball bearings, and it was incredible. When it closed, you didn't even realize it had a comp. It was just an unbelievable gun. And, so as a gun guy, it's always going to be a gun that's going to be my number one thing.
Are you a fan of Nighthawks? Have you seen them before?
Never seen one with a double stack and a comp built in. No, never.
We got to tour in 2012. I'd never heard of them. I may have heard of them, but I wasn't paying attention in 1911. So when we went to tour there, it was more of like out of interest than anything else. And once I figured out their deal, one gunsmith, one gun or something, one gun, one gunsmith. So in other words, when you order the gun, I don't know how it happens, but the gunsmith who gets, your gun, they start with the frame and whatever the list of specs you gave them, they put it together from metal. Like, that gun is yours. It's not like they take a gun off the shelf and make it yours. Like, it starts out as parts being fitted together for the first time as your gun. If it ever goes back to the shop, it goes to that guy. That part's pretty neat. Like, those guns are, I don't know, Ferrari, like Cadillac. I don't know what the fancy car equivalent is, but they're definitely at another level. Neat. So it's neat that they're there. Do they do knives too? They had some knives and stuff back in the day.
Nighthawk, I didn't see any knives, but they would probably spec out those with somebody else that would build them for them at this show, I'm guessing.
I don't know. They got a nice facility. They had a nice facility back in the day, and I know they've grown. So I wouldn't be surprised if they can whip out a knife there.
I saw some, Wilson combat knives and, different gun makers that had a knife, on different tables, but, that gun maker wasn't really there.
So how about you, Budget? Coolest thing, dumbest thing?
Coolest thing I saw was the meteorite gun. The coolest knife was the knives from Vero Engineering. They were just cool. I really liked them. Well put together, well made. The flipper mechanism on it was just cool as shit. They were definitely sharp. The dude cut himself while he was demonstrating. So that was kind of funny in a macabre sort of way.
Budget, how many cuts did you have on your fingers and hands?
I did not have any because I'm careful with knives because I've cut the shit out of myself before.
All right, I had 2 on Friday and none on Saturday.
I even manage when I make something not to cut myself because I'm careful.
But in years past, I've had 10 accidents just on a Friday.
Oh,
not bloody accidents, but a couple bloody, and 8 minor.
Do they have a lot of first aid stuff there for sale?
None.
I imagine every booth should probably have something.
I'm guessing they all have a little something, just in case. So
as the dude at Vero, when he cut himself, it was because he was doing his thing, telling his demonstration and whatnot, and going through it, and then he just started to. You could tell he was distracted. Then I looked down, I was like, "Dude, you're bloody." He's like, "Yeah, I gotta go take care of this." Got his first aid kit out and band-aided up, and then went back to it.
I did see a few Band-Aids, but I'm guessing there was a lot of super glue in the back end, right?
Probably.
And are you asking anything you didn't get accomplished that you wanted to?
Not really. Not of any major importance, no.
I think I saw everything I wanted to see. I was only thing I wish I had more time was the small room. There was some really cool guys in the small room, and I only gave my 2 hour period, and I would have spent more time there had I known.
Yeah, the small room is where I bought this knife.
What is that?
It is a cold cracker Bushcraft Black Diamond.
Nice.
It's 01. It's 1/8 inch 01. So it's already starting to get a little bit of rust on it, but that's okay. It's a carbon steel knife. What do you expect? With black micarta canvas micarta scales. The only thing I don't like about it off the bat is that it does not have a lanyard hole. Other than that, I like it for a Bushcraft type blade. Feels really great in the hand. Spoiler alert. I just like to have a lanyard hole so I can put reflective paracord on through it and leave it out a little bit in case you drop it at night or you set it down at night. You can't remember where the hell you put it or whatnot, because you can shine a flashlight around and find it if you have a reflective piece of paracord on it. And I learned that lesson from my brother one night we were hiking, made up camp, and he's like, shit, I set my knife down. Where the hell is it? So he so he shined his flashlight around and saw it glow in there, super bright, because he was smart enough to put reflective paracord on it. So I do that with all my knives that have lanyard holes now.
Now, are you talking like orange or yellow high vis, or are you talking literally with like a strand of the reflector?
A strand of reflective material woven into the paracord, yes.
Okay. And then, I had, when I was a kid one time, I had a something similar to a K-bar, that style of a sheath knife. And we were playing Frisbee golf or something like that. And I was running all around. And then at the end of the day, I'm like, dang, where's my knife at? I had to run around, try to retrack an entire game of Frisbee golf in some giant field somewhere. And did find it. But guess what? Never lost another knife again. Like, I pay more attention to my knives ever since that one afternoon of looking for a knife all day.
Yeah, I generally speaking, if it's not in my hand, it's in a sheath on my belt.
That's an interesting thing you got going on there. So that's one you bought, you said?
Yeah, this is one I bought. I'm going to review it.
Hold that up again. That is just in a giant pocket. There's nothing like physically strapping or holding that in. It's just gravity in that big, deep pocket.
Yep.
I mean, a little bit of compression from the leather fold.
A little bit of compression from the leather. That's it.
And then how do you get it out? You got to like pick it out of there with your fingers, or does it? You have to kind of just use the tips of your fingers. Okay.
Yep.
So, I've never had one like that. That doesn't bother you? It seems like it would be annoying to me to have more of the handle sticking out.
Yeah.
Have you had one like that before?
No, I haven't. I've not had a sheath like this before. I'm going to end up making a new sheath. Not that there's anything wrong with this one. It's made well. Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of this style.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So the thing that happened to me,
I would probably end it right about here.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying too. That just seems so high that it would be too much of a pain to get out of there. So
I'd end it right about here, and I'd have a place to put a loop for a ferro rod on it. But I'll end up doing a video on that, making a sheath for it.
The hide and drink sheaths have those, and they're really cool and very affordable on Amazon. And they hold about any knife, but they have a good retention.
Well, Budget, one of the things Budget bought at Blade Show was a bunch of leather, because I'm going to start doing that, making knife sheaths and holsters and whatnot. Again, I used to do leatherwork as a side hustle years ago, and I think I'm going to start doing it again. So yeah, there'll be some videos on that coming out. Matter of fact, my first videos on YouTube were leatherwork.
We're totally going off topic at this point, but I think people can deal with it. Have you seen that $150 leather sewing machine deal that's like manual?
Yeah, and it's kind of a piece of crap. I don't want anything I got to mess with like that.
Oh, I've seen some videos where people are like, "This is the shit." Like, as long as you don't expect it to be crazy, like we're just doing a holster or two.
Hold on one sec.
But yeah, I'm a big fan of doing leather. Have you done leather before, Wield?
No, I've never done. I mean, except for Boy Scouts, I'm an Eagle Scout, so did leather. Leather making merit badge, right?
Yeah, but if you were like me, you did that as a little kid and you got it over with as soon as possible. It wasn't like we went back to it very often. Oh, what do we got going?
Never got back into it.
I bought some. I have a bunch of little tiny revolvers, right? I have a bunch of the little production model revolvers, and I didn't want to buy holsters for them, so too cheap. So I ended up buying. Well, I bought some tools. I got given a bunch of leather scraps, and they were big enough to make my holsters with. So I never actually had to buy much leather, but got interested because basically you get the leather wet. You remember it from playing with it as a kid, but you get it wet, and it's very pliable. You do whatever you're going to do to it. You sew it into place. You glue it. You let it dry, and it's sort of magic. Now, boom, it's like done, and then you can fiddle with it and make it nice. But you can kind of fiddle with it as much as you want to make it nice, or kind of leave it crude, and it always works. And it's just a matter of how nice you make it look, really, right?
I ended up most of the stuff I do, I've hand sewn in the past, but I just bought the Tipman Boss leather stitcher. So
okay, you went right past the $150 one to the
I went way past the $150 one.
How much was that?
$1,200.
Oh snap!
No,
so that's
is
real.
That one electric?
What's that?
Is it electric?
No, it's manual. I deliberately got a manual one.
What would your
so
feet
manual?
do?
What do you have to do? Push your handle on the top?
Pull the button. Pull the lever. Pull the lever.
Okay.
Pull the lever once for each stitch.
So you have to move it forward, or does it move it forward for you?
It's a walking foot. It moves it forward itself.
Okay. And you can adjust the amount of.
You can adjust the stitch length. You can adjust everything you can do with a sewing machine. You can pretty much do with that, except I'm not. It doesn't zigzag. It's all straight stitch, and you can't reverse it. If in order to reverse to back stitch, you have to turn it around and run it back. But big deal.
So you're running two threads. You're running you could run a black thread on the front and a brown thread on the back, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you really wanted to, you could run a contrasting color bobbin thread. Yes.
Oh, okay, cool.
That's neat. Yeah. So I was just thinking the same idea of like being able to get a decent stitch because I was just telling him I did it with by hand or whatever, where you just run that little thing that looks like a spur and then it puts a little indentions. You just kind of eyeball it. But I was only doing holsters for NAAs, but that thing gives you an ability to do pretty much anything. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a bunch of holsters and wallets and cases and whatever anybody wants to buy, I'll do it. I like to work leather. I did it for a long time. I originally started doing it as part of another hobby with the historical reenactment stuff. That's why I always hand sewed everything. But now I'm going to make stuff to sell, so I'm going to be able to do it in volume. So the machine.
Well, I got a deal on a bunch of bat leather from China. Are you interested in making a bunch of bat leather?
I thought that was for bat rinds.
Well, they said to make soup out of it, but I'm thinking nobody's going to drink that soup. I'm going to make some wallets out of
it. Can you make leather goods with the shovel, the Chinese shovel?
There you go.
You could probably use that Chinese shovel to cut it, and then if you take a nail and hammer it to make the holes, and I mean you could do leather work with the Chinese shovel.
There might be that crimping edge where you could flip it somehow, flip the blade back and forth with a certain attachment.
Oh, there you go. Make a sewing machine out of it.
Yeah. With a bobbin.
All right. So sharpening stuff, accessories to knives. I can't think of what other accessories. There's things like stands, like displays. It was mostly just knives then?
No, there was a ton of associated gear there. There was a lot of sharpeners. There was grinders for belt grinders for making it. There were furnaces and kilns for tempering. There was a bunch of materials. Matter of fact, there's this one company out of India that sold horn and stuff, knife scales and bone and whatnot. Hell, they even sold horn mugs. As a matter of fact, I sent you a picture of one. That was one of the gifts I bought my son. So we've been watching Game of Thrones, and he's been like, "Oh man, having one of those horn mugs would be cool." And I happened to see one. I'm like, "Okay," so I bought it for him.
Yeah, I had one, but I never drank out of it. You really drink? I guess you can. Back in the old days,
Yeah.
Budget. Did you see the battle mug?
No.
It's a mug that's like 12 inches tall, 4 inches in diameter on the inside, and has 3 Picatinny rails. One of the Picatinny rails, you put your M16A2 grip handle on, and you can flip it left or right, depending if you're left or right-handed. And you know, so you wouldn't have, because the third side doesn't have the, you know, the Picatinny rail to get in your mouth. And then on the bottom of the cup, it's kind of like a bezel, like it would be a striking bezel. So if somebody were to come, this cup weighs about 2 pounds of solid aluminum. You can really just put a 5-inch circle with spikes on their face or whatever part you hit them with.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Anything about Knife Rights, the Knife Rights organization? There's a couple.
I did not see them there.
Yeah, I got a video of them. The Knife Rights people were there with my membership lapsed with USPA, the other insurance company, so I signed up with them, and they were in the same booth.
That's what I was going to say. I'm pretty sure Knife Rights was like with Emerson or was with one of the bigger, fancier manufacturers, and they were doing some sort of like register or sign up and win the knife kind of thing. But I imagine that's an uphill knife people, unless you're living in a state where you can't have switchblades and you want them, because you can live in a state without switchblades and not care, and then you don't care that there's no switchblades, right? So if you live in a state with no switchblades and want switchblades and went to Blade Show, that's probably the only people that really care about knife rights, right? Most people probably aren't getting
join them. Rights. I need to join them because they're leading the fight for Ohio to have knife preemption, because we don't. You know, we just passed some laws that decriminalize the carry of knives, says that a knife is no longer a weapon unless and until it's used as a weapon. Otherwise, it's a tool. So now we can carry concealed knives, except any jurisdiction can make a law forbidding it. We do not have preemption for knife rights like we do gun rights. So I need to get in touch with them and join them and support that.
Will you want me to give you the contact info?
Yeah, if you could email that to me or text it to me or whatever.
Okay.
And on that note, I gotta go.
Yeah,
I have to get up early in the morning to take the wife to a doctor's appointment.
Right on. Well, I appreciate it. We've gone for almost 2 hours, so it's a good chat. Thanks for going.
Yeah,
thanks for bringing your cameras and sharing it with everybody. And thanks for then jumping in. And,
hey, no problem. Everybody go on over to Budget Guns and Gear Reviews and check out the videos I've dropped today about Blade Show, some of the booth reviews I did. And I've got a couple more coming maybe tomorrow, maybe the day after. And then, of course, there's, you know, the Friday night show, The Right of the People, where we use the first to defend the second, talking about Second Amendment related politics, news, and current events. Thanks for the invite, G. I appreciate you having this show, man.
Yeah, hold on before you jump out then. Yeah, thanks for plugging your stuff. And also going to say, you already did a video I saw about going to the pistol class with Jaeger, but we didn't get to do the one before you went. My internet went out. But if you've got some time to do an after action about the class, I'd certainly be interested in doing that. So if you've got some time,
okay,
let's work on it.
Yeah, I'll get with you on that.
Cool. All right. Thanks again for jumping in.
All right. You guys have a good one.
So Wield, we don't have to jump right out unless you got to jump out. I'll go check out what other comments are coming in here. Are we corking anybody right now? We're probably corking people. I just did this on Wednesday because I didn't want to wait too long after you guys had gone to the event and so that you guys would forget about what you'd seen and
Sure.
whatever. I just figured this was the next day that was like available after I emailed you guys.
I dropped my day 2 videos. I think there were 10 or 12 of them, all in one day. So all on Sunday. So there were 12 of those. And now I'm doing my bigger table, more impressive companies on now. So I'm doing one every 7 o'clock in the morning and 7 o'clock at night, Eastern.
Okay, so that I'm looking at your channel over here now, and I'm flipping over to your video channel or your video tab. Hold on, let me get some. My mouth is all dried out. So I'm looking at all your videos here. So it sounds like, let's see, you probably started somewhere around here, and then we're talking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're talking 18, 22 videos already, and then you've got a bunch in the pipe coming out twice a day for a while.
Yeah, till this weekend.
Okay, so then a couple of questions. Your goal for your channel, if you don't mind me asking, your goal for your channel, do you have a goal for the channel?
I just hit 1,000 today, which is, my goal. I wanted to hit that before my first year, which I didn't make. But now I'm picking up more, and it's just kind of funny. But anyway, it's not really a profit center. It's money's not an issue for me. So I really like to be able to help the disabled and more of the wheelchair people into shooting and feeling more comfortable carrying. That's really the goal of the channel.
Okay, so then, and I ask because if your goal was to promote the show or to get, like, to say thank you by putting their video up quicker, then I would not say anything. But what I'm going to suggest is, if you don't have an urgency to get your videos up, I would not post them 2 a day. I would go in and take your 7 a.m.s, you said 7 and 7? I would take your 7 a.m.s and flip them to 7 p.m.s at the end so that they keep going out twice as long into the future. So did you say twice a week, twice a day, or every day, twice a week? I mean, every day, twice a day.
I was going to do 7 a.m., 7 p.m. for, till the weekend.
Yeah, so I would take those, just my suggestion is to take those and have them go every Thursday at 7 p.m. as long as they'll run. So maybe 2 months from now. And the reason for that is that'll be better for your channel. As far as human beings, even if the best case scenario, somebody's sitting around doing nothing and they see all those videos and they go, oh, thank you. This guy finally gave me a flood of videos from Blade Show. And then 15 minutes later, literally by Sunday, they're like, oh, they're over. And then they binge watched them. And even if they like your channel, the best they can do is sub to your channel and be gone because you have nothing else to give them. But if you are giving something to somebody who's out there for a while, then why not give them one every week? It's not the same as giving them a feast, but now you have something to give them every week. And ideally, then you start giving them something on a Wednesday and something on a Tuesday, and you start giving them something every day. But your burden isn't to batch them where you give them 3 weeks worth of stuff twice a day and then 3 weeks worth of stuff. So it's a burden on you. So it'll give you.
That makes sense. I was just thinking, because Blade Show is dated and now the further you go from the Blade Show, the less interest there will be. That was my thought.
But that's only for the losers who are observers and who only can only be interested in what they're told to be interested in. But people who are actually interested in things, and what you've done is provided 2 to 5 minute interviews, either with the knife maker themselves or somebody in their company. But often it seems like the ones I've seen, the knife makers. And
the knife makers or the CEOs,
because you ain't, let's say, some pompous ass making $10,000 a month who feels like the knife maker owes them something for the interview, the relationship that you do, or the information that you get across in that 2 to 6 minutes is infinitely more valuable to a true enthusiast of knives. A true person who's interested in that knife maker is going to learn more from your intimate, real experience for 2 or 3 minutes with that person than any fake ass commercial. So for one, highly value what you're offering the knife community, but what you're offering your audience, they don't give a shit that it was at Blade Show. They're interested in you, dude in a chair, having a conversation with some guy who didn't think he was going to Blade Show to talk to a dude in the chair. After he went to Blade Show, he knows for the rest of time, be ready to talk to somebody in a chair. Those people exist, and I'm going to be ready for them. You're providing a service, and that's to your audience, right? And that, they don't give a shit about when Blade Show was. So if you give them one of those a week for a while, that's cool. And now that gives you time to do something on Tuesdays for 2 months. Now go into your library and break open a book, or do that every Wednesday for 6 months. And before you know it, you're like, oh shit, my Blade Show videos are running out. But now I'm going to someplace else. Now I'm going to NRA or CCW or some other place. And then you do the same thing. But no, I think what you're doing is freaking awesome, dude. And what other people, I haven't seen a lot of Blade Show stuff, mainly because I won't watch garbage that's trying to get people to buy last year's shit. What you did is give people insight to these knife makers. And for me, their table and what it's like to walk up on them and have a camera going and them be chill. Because if you were a hot chick with your boobs hanging out and you walked up to them, you'd get a 4-minute video with each of these guys, but they'd be in a different situation and they would be saying something dumb to you and it would be different. Instead, they're like talking to you like, oh snap, holy crap, you got a camera? Yeah, no problem, guy. Let's talk, right? Like you're giving people a glimpse of their table and what it's like to talk to these guys that, like I say, none of the fake asses can even attempt. They wouldn't even try to attempt. All they would say is, what's the new model? How much does it cost? What's the blade steel? Some dumb thing.
Yeah, I caught myself doing that in certain more of the booth type, but when you got into the individual tables, it completely changed.
Yeah, I don't even like knives that much, but like as soon as I watched like this one and a couple of the others, I was like, well, shit, dude, you're giving me way more than just some boring info about knives. Like I look at this and I'm seeing Blade Show. Like I know what Blade Show is like now, and I can get an idea from the sound or whatever, what's going on and the pace of the whole thing, and then, but in this particular one, he's about to start showing off knives. And I have a couple, but like I said in the comment, like I got to go look at mine now. I got to go dig them out and look, because I knew that some of mine are nicer than other ones. And I know that I didn't pay much for mine, but some of mine I bought a long time ago. And anyway, I didn't know that the one style of opening was older than the other style. And now it's something to look at. So anyway, this kind of stuff.
Have a $3,600 knife,
Well, I don't have those, but I'm just saying I didn't know that mine were like from maybe the 50s when they opened that way. But anyway, what I said is that, or what I was getting at is when I started watching your videos, at first I was just doing it out of courtesy. Like, oh, okay, he's posting some videos. I'll go thumb them up. And then I was like, oh, this is actually freaking neat. Like I expected it to be, I don't want to put anybody down, but I expected it to be an emulation of some garbage that I don't like. And it was totally not. So then I started watching them. And like I said, even if I don't care about the knife or like this one, I don't really care about this knife or whatever, but it was super cool watching you talk to this dude and listen to that guy. Like at first he's like, whatever. And then by the end, he's like, yeah. Like he was into it. Like, right. Because everybody wants to talk about their stuff. They're just not used to talking to a guy with a camera.
Well, that guy was from Brazil, and he was just, it was like no other knife. I mean, it was a 10-pound butcher knife. And I have zero interest in a butcher knife, but the guy was pretty incredible. You know what I mean? And so he got into it.
Yeah, but imagine doing like something like what barbecue does, where you get paid to show up and cut the hell out of some dead thing that you just cooked. Are you going to do that with some garbage from Walmart, or are you going to do it with a 4-pound Brazilian chunk of stainless steel and bone? Right? Like
10 pounds. 10 pounds.
10 pounds. Holy crap!
Go back to the Greg Stevens.
back. I just shut everything down. Let me go back to here and then history and then back to wheeled. And then I just went to you could probably go to videos and see all of them, but he also put them all into a playlist. So you can go to the playlist for 2021 SHOT Show, or I mean Blade Show. Go to which one?
Greg Stevens, Design GSB. Yeah, that guy. He was like, I've been in the basement for a year, and you just threw me on the camera. He's a watchmaker that started out making straps, and then Protech, that Switchblade company, he gave him like 20 Gadsons, and he said, do whatever you want with them. So he hollowed them out. He put leather in there. He put the lanyard in there. I mean, he just did all kinds of stuff. He was just a real cool guy. Uh, there was the big knife was called the Godfather, and this one's called the Godson.
But you're saying he made the lanyards for these knives?
He made the lanyard. He beveled out the metal, and he put leather on each side, so it gives it kind of a warm.
Okay, I get you. The scales
the insert there. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty cool.
And those switchblades really pop. I mean, bam.
DJ likes them. All right, so hold on. Oh, so dude is saying, Weston's saying he follows him on Instagram. That's pretty cool. That dude from the leather. Let's see. As a viewer, 2 months from now, if I see a Blade Show video pop up, I probably won't watch it. But if it's within 1 or 2 weeks, I watch it. Same for SHOT Show videos. So that's interesting, and that's definitely a thing. I mean, I agree with that. It's like the formula or whatever. But I'm just saying, if you're not interested in what the formula is, or like trying to go with a recipe that works, and you're more interested in like catering to the people that are watching your stuff, right? People that are around and what. That's why I was saying that. I think it's rationing or whatever that would be called. And also just for yourself, so that when you go to an event like this, when you get used to, well, you should really, as an exercise, get used to editing your stuff right away. I don't want to encourage people to not edit right away, because that's a bad habit. Get into editing right away. But the problem is, once you've just edited and you've just experienced, your tendency is to want to just dump it. And everybody dumps it. So that's the problem. Everybody dumps it. So the audience is just like if you had a bunch of fish in a feeder place, like one of the catfish farms, and you threw out the bucket of food or whatever, you can never get one of them fish to catch, the fishing pole. You'll never get one to care, because they only eat, sorry, I had to kill a mosquito. They only eat, when you throw a bucket of food out there. And the same thing with our audiences. As content creators, if we do what everybody else is doing and just throw troughs of food out there 3 times a day when the time is right for feeding, then we're competing. We're making our audiences compete with each other, or we're competing with each other for the same audiences and whatnot. But then you're also conditioning your audience. So I just like to throw that out there as a person who's creating a content, not necessarily, like you said, for channel growth or for mass appeal, but instead to cater and to hopefully foster. Anyway, like I said, I think the other side of it is that when you get used to making a bunch of content and then dropping the content, your tendency is to then rush around and create more content and then drop it. And in my experience, from both doing that and watching that, I find that less satisfying as a creator and less interesting as an observer to watch batches. I'd rather see series unfold. That's just a preference for sure. And I know that it's not a preference or it's not the recipe for growth. Growth is consistency. So whatever you do, you have to do it consistent, and it has to appeal. But anyway, I'm just repeating myself at this point. So that's
the reason I wanted to knock out all the videos was, like Paps just said, but also is my family's going on vacation for 2 weeks on Saturday. So I'd like to start going back to some good gun content, and start banking some movies, that way. So I'd like to do some series and things like that, and have those stretch out for the next couple months, more gun related, and put the knives behind me.
Otherwise, that being said, I don't know unless you've got more. We're right around the 2 hour mark. But if you've got more that you wanted to talk about, we can. Is this your third chat today that you've been live in?
The second chat, I was just listening. It's one it's Big Johnson Guns and Gears, and he's kind of a stepfather for me.
Oh, I'm not familiar with that channel. Rick was on earlier. Rick's Life, I see it. Today's his.
Yeah, I was on Rich Life as I see it, and that's definitely one of my try never to miss channels, and love that guy and the whole concept of it. But no, I'm ready to wind it up. It's been a long day.
Right on. So again, I appreciate you both going. Budget's out there. Thanks again for joining in. But for you, thanks again for going, and glad you got to bring the camera and share it. And hopefully people find the channel and dig it. And you're around on Rick's show. I know you're around on other people's show in the audiences, but you're often around on Clover's show on Thursday. You've jumped into the Thursday shows that I watch that Barbecue does. You're jumping on Saturdays. So those are the shows that I end up watching, but I'm sure you're jumping into maybe Travis's and others too. Do you do your own live stuff yet?
No, I haven't ever done my own live stuff yet. I'm not sure how well I would do. I mean, I think I'd run out of things to say after 5 minutes. I really enjoyed, watching you before I started doing my own channel, and you're one of the guys that got me interested in doing it. So
well, if you ever get interested in doing something, then let me know. I'll help you promote it. And definitely, I think I don't want to. I'm going to always give people extra work to do or whatever, but have no obligation or anything. But if you find out about anybody, or if in travels you see somebody who'd be good at it, what we are definitely lacking is accessibility in 2A. So I appreciate everything you're doing, and unfortunately, you're a token. So I appreciate that you're willing to be a token, because unfortunately, it's a shitty position to have to be in, and most people don't appreciate that. And once you're in a position where you have to make that decision, then you either have to live with it, or once you've made the decision, you start living with it, you have to follow through with the consequences. And I'm sure, I don't know, maybe I'm making a big deal about it, but I do appreciate what seems like an extra effort that you didn't ask for, and that you didn't have to, you're not having to do, but I appreciate that you're doing it. I'm sure others are as well.
No, I mean, everybody has their own barrier to, the hill to climb, and everything else. I'm just glad today was my, 1,000 subscriber day, and just wanting to help out the 2A channel, and trying to get more and more disabled people out there thinking that being able to carry even a knife or a gun is normal, and be able to protect yourself is normal, and the God-given right to carry a gun is normal, and to be able to protect yourself in any means possible is normal. So normalizing everything, that's kind of my kick. And whether it's a Sneaky Pete holster, or whether it's carrying behind yourself. I mean, I've carried in the last 20 years 6 different ways, and 4 of them were complete failures, as far as safety, and put myself at risk, and so you learn and you grow and you get better and stronger, right?
Oops, couldn't find the mic. Hopefully. Or one of those things doesn't happen and they all stop, right?
Yeah, or you die. You shoot yourself in a femoral artery, right? So,
but that doesn't happen. That would be the ultimate consequence, and we know that if that did happen more often, it would be used against us on like without stop. So we know that it doesn't happen. That it is
right.
not a possibility, but it's not an eventuality.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, we all do the best we can, and we're given our lot in life. I mean, some people have different skills. They'll be able to speak better. Some people have better analytical skills or speaking skills. Whatever you can contribute and get online and make your presence known to help the 2A movement. That's what you should be doing at this time, because we're in peril of losing it all with Democrats in Congress, Democrats in Senate, and Democrats in presidential power right now.
I hear you. Don't be too concerned. There's just as much danger of losing it with the apathy that happens when it's the opposite. The best case scenario is when it's kind of in the middle and there's enough tension that we can all kind of take a breath and walk away. Right now, we've got the stress tension, but otherwise we get the relaxation, lack of tension, and that can be just as dangerous, especially when the tension comes back quickly. But I get your premise, for sure.
I know, but you got, Marco Rubio just out there dying to sign a red flag law, with whoever, for whatever, please. And then you got, Jim Conley, always out there from Texas looking for, way to get rid of the Second Amendment. I mean, it's just, we got our own enemies that are just as bad on the right that we do on the left.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm going to throw out there a link to go watch Rant and Raves, who I'm working for, holy moly, 44 minutes. But, well, yeah,
Sorry for stepping on it, yeah.
Nah, not at all. Everybody needs to every once in a while. Otherwise, we don't remember what we're doing, right? So appreciate you jumping in and sticking around and ranting a little bit with us here. And I'm going to encourage people again to go check out Wield's playlist and perhaps just turn it on while you're doing stuff. If you're not like a big enough blade person to necessarily want to just sit down with a cup of coffee and watch them, I can understand that for somebody watching my gun channel here. But seriously, what's cool about it, let the playlist play. Just click on the first one and it'll sequence through them. And you'll get an audio version of the interview. Of course, you can look over your screen anytime you want and see what they're talking about. But again, it's a neat experience to hear so many different folks who didn't necessarily expect to be representing their brand officially, or what do you want to say, like on camera. So anyway, I think there's a neat glimpse, and you don't see that enough. Oftentimes you see such a fake glimpse that it's like no fun. This was actually just fun. Like I say, even if I wasn't in it, it's just an honest listen to people who are having a good time enjoying their craft.
You're looking at a father and son, and the son was like a sales guy, and when the video came on, he's like, Dad, it's all you. And Dad was like, just thrown under the bus, but he jumped up and did well.
And like I say, what's also neat is you're giving them a little bit of like, hey, you guys are there, you're at a show that it ain't just a, backyard show. You're, the internet's coming, and that's cool that you give
that company every single screw, every single micarta, every single piece is made in America. Which is pretty cool.
You were talking about.
Yeah.
These have been around for a little while. They've been improving them, adding on to them.
Yeah, they gave me a plastic one. It's I poured water in it just to see how many ounces it was, and it's exactly 20 ounces. So it's more than a beer just will kind of disappear in it. So I think it's going to be more of a big ice water cup for me.
I don't know. It looks like they got a bunch of things now. Back in the day, what we used to do is take those kind of big metal coffee cups were the rage for a while, and people were just taking JB weld and buying some rail sections and sticking them on there, and then putting a detachable handle for the AR, and making those, but they would end up being just hobbled together or whatever. And then this company came out. Originally they were made out of aluminum or something, like extruded.
Yeah, they aluminum. Yeah, he did the cheap one.
Yeah, they were super heavy. So now that they're making them out of plastic, I would think that's more appealing, just because that was not light to pick up that giant aluminum one. I mean, it was heavy.
Yeah, you would break out your teeth, if you were, once you had 6 beers, right?
Yeah, exactly. Once you're farting around with it or dropping it on a glass table or something, then yeah. But pretty cool. And
that little torpedo thing he had, he said, "Oh, you never heard of one of these? Like it was a battle jug or a battle bong or whatever he called it." He goes, "It's a cocktail shaker." And then he
Oh, is
pulled
that
up.
what it was? Okay.
It was a
Yeah, that makes
cocktail
sense.
shaker, and then it was a wine glass, and then it was a shot glass on the top. Yeah.
Actually, that's kind of cool making them into wine glasses too. It would be cool to have a glass wine glass in a bomb case so that you could pull it all out and be cool and then have like actual wine glasses somewhere. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. But this is a good, again, kind of representation of being able to see the show. And yeah, I appreciate it. Hopefully people would dig the video series. And again, thanks for doing it.
Yeah, the one thing I learned was my hand's extremely shaky. I'm not great at interviews, so I think the day two were better than my day one, and I bought a gimbal after I got home, so I'll be able to hold the camera steady. So yeah, that was fine.
You're going to get a lot of different advice on it. My advice is going to always be like, don't go rushing to production value, like, because I don't know. There's just something about when you rush to production value, you go right past all the fun of it and you get to the work of it. And I can understand it, but so many people that get to the work of it blow past all the fun. And that's what we're here for, is the fun and sharing the fun. Because once people start sharing the work of it, then it's just effort. It's not the same anymore. So anyway, I appreciate it though, and looking forward to what's next.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the Have a good one.
Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll be back to pick you up later. Go watch Roll Call.